designed our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store, back where it says horror videos, and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
Fuck the prime time, bitch!
On with the new flesh.
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal.
We have such sights to show you.
Gotta return some videotapes.
Hello, horror hounds, and welcome to the It Slays podcast. I'm your humble host, Rowan.
And I'm Colton.
Hey, it's Jill.
It's not many times we say we're Mikeless. Some on the podcast may say we don't say it enough. But,
True.
Oh, I was going to say, I won't call out who says that, but the beef continues. Inner turmoil. I can't wait till TMZ picks it up and, reports on it. But, yeah, we are back for another one. We've, calmed down. You know, Halloween season's past us. We're now 2 episodes past it. I'm still a little sad about it. Are we 2 episodes past Halloween? Yeah. Or 1. I think we're 1. This is it.
I can't even remember what we recorded last episode.
I gotta flip through the...
Interview with a Vampire.
Oh. Yeah. Jill's very memorable pick that we couldn't think about.
It was very memorable.
It was, because of one Tom Cruise, the greatest of all time, some say. All say.
Maverick himself.
But yeah, you know what we're gonna get into. What have we been watching? What have we been reading? What have we been listening to? All that good stuff. What have we been consuming, guys? And Jill, just because you had so many problems before we started the episode with your microphone, you're very, you look frazzled. I want to start with you to put the pressure on.
I am frazzled and I'm just disorganized all over the place, just not with it. So this is going to be a very short...
It's just going to be a normal episode.
For me, yeah, but it's gonna be worse. It's gonna be 5 times worse. Yeah, I haven't really had any time to do anything for fun, really. Watching.
Weren't you just at a concert for 4 days or something?
Well, things that
I
wasn't
can fun,
talk
was
about.
It was just an obligation.
Well, I'm not gonna talk about that. I'm gonna talk about books and movies and such. And
no one wants to know about her bad musical tastes.
What? I have exquisite musical taste, first of all, and everyone knows it. All the listeners know. Let's stop stalling though. So I only watched 2 things besides what we're going to talk about today. Last night, this is kind of funny. I put on Under the Skin. I had friends over. And I was like, if this is not the vibe, I'll turn it off. And then I had it on for 10 minutes. And everyone was getting anxiety. And I was like, okay, this is not the vibe. So I turned it off.
Should you be concerned about what kind of friends you have if it is the vibe?
Yeah, I think you should. I think you should be concerned. Maybe. I don't know. It just wasn't that particular vibe. It's not I have friends over. We're doing fun things. Let's put on Under the Skin. I didn't know what to expect. Anyways, we'll talk about it later. So instead, we put on Candyman from 2021 because I had just watched the original and I needed to watch the new one. So that was very much the vibe instead. And for the movie itself, I like the direction that it went in for the most part. The only thing that really threw me off was the multiple generational Candyman concept that they kind of brought in, which I understand why they did it and it's a cool concept, but it was just a little confusing and they're doing a lot. And it was also very much on the nose with certain topics when the original was very implicit. I feel still good, but I don't know, the implicity of the first one is just very subtle, but it does a lot. And stylistically, I didn't really like the look of the Candyman as much in this one. It's more scary and less sexy, and the voice as well, until you get the little bit of Tony Todd. So yeah, it was good, but not as good as the original.
It's kind of hard to recreate Tony Todd's voice or find someone with that kind of presence, vocal presence. I do need to watch that again because I was not a huge fan when I saw it. Although it is the
Yeah.
first movie that made me aware of Coleman Domingo. Like, that's the first, I think that might have been the first one I've ever seen that he was in. So I was like, oh,
I think
who's this
that
guy?
may have been like the first Now slaying as well.
Yeah, I think.
That was like when we were having talks behind the scenes about me joining the podcast, and I was like, oh, we should start covering recent releases. So I think at the time it was like movie house horror or something.
Yeah.
So I remember doing that episode, and I was the only person who liked the movie. So
I saw that on Letterboxd earlier. Here, let me find it. So as a whole, you gave it 2.5 stars. Rowan gave it an okay. Xelia gave it a nay. And Colton gave it a yay. I would probably also give it a yay.
yeah, I think it's pretty good. What has happened to Discount 50 Cent? He's the one who's playing Candyman in the movie. I haven't seen him in years now. Wasn't he in like Moonlight and Candyman and The Predator? I don't know what he's doing, but I liked him in that movie.
Who was it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember his name, other than he kind of looks like 50 Cent.
Oh,
I was like, I didn't know 50 Cent was in it.
Yaya. Oh, man.
Yeah.
You're shitting on my boy Yaya. I love Yaya.
I mean, I like him. I don't. He hasn't been.
well, he was
in
getting
a
that
movie lately.
DC money for a little bit there. He played
Oh.
Aquaman.
Black
Oh.
Mantis, and he was in Us, and I think and
Watchmen.
yeah, the show, and he was in the.
All these are like from 2 to 3 years ago.
yeah,
though,
it's been
you
it's
know?
been a while.
Sure.
I think he's still eating off of the huge blockbuster hit Ambulance, which critics said it was a masterpiece.
I still haven't seen that.
Oh,
so.
you're missing out. You're missing out. I do like him though. He needs to come back. Sorry, we hijacked your talk there.
No, you're fine.
Jill.
I was just looking at who was in that movie on Letterboxd. Just kind of catching up what you guys were saying. So yeah, I watched that last night. The only other thing I watched was the new
Oh my
Guillermo
God!
del Toro.
Put some respect on the man's name, for the love
I'm
of
having
God.
a rough day here. Okay, Guillermo del Toro's
Listeners, just
Frankenstein.
wait. If you haven't listened to it before you listen to this episode, when you hear the now slang, because I have to say the name, and I
Yeah,
am
we're gonna be
looking forward
both
to
fucked.
it.
Man,
We're not doing it.
I'm so upset now that I'm missing that recording. It was just I couldn't really find the time to rewatch it.
I think what we
again
should
since
do
I've
is
seen
get
it in
Colton to say his name, and then we just paste it everywhere his name has
Splice
to be
it in.
said.
I love it.
It's too foreign for me, I'm just kidding. We're going to record a Now Slaying on it like immediately after we record this. So I'm not going to say anything, but I watched it. And honestly, I've read 2 things. Well, I read one thing, I'm reading the other. I don't know if I should talk about it because I think I'll send Colton into like a coma or something. But I'll quickly skim through everything here. So I read a smutty novella called Pounded in the Patch.
Do we need to discuss this stuff on air? My God.
I'm not gonna say too much. That's the title.
She doesn't want to give it away.
That's what it is. It's by Dana Leanne. That's the author. Yeah, and if you're, I don't know, a dark romance girly and you like being hunted and chased in a pumpkin patch by a masked man, this is for you. Similarly,
What about if you just enjoy being pounded in the patch? Is it also for you?
it is also for you. Yep.
Good to know.
Yeah, it's actually not written badly. I was expecting it to be worse, but it was actually pretty nice. It was pretty nicely written. I'm reading the sequel now. It just came out on Friday. Big title. It's called Taken in the Tree Farm. It's the same concept,
This is fucking
but
awful.
in a tree farm. And that's all I got, guys. Colton, why don't we just pass it on to you? What have you been up to?
Well, I certainly haven't been reading anything as entertaining as that. It's been a relatively short time since we've recorded our interview with the vampire episode, so I didn't really have a whole lot of time to watch much. I watched the original Running Man, which I've never seen before. Yeah, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. My friend who we do the weekly movie nights with, she was having a bit of a bad day, so I just wanted to scroll through and find something really stupid to throw on. And I was like, oh, the new one's coming out. I haven't seen the old one. The new one has Glenn Powell, and it's an Edgar Wright movie. So I was like, all right, let's see what Arnold has. And it was so entertaining. It was completely stupid and really corny. And oh man, all of the costumes and outfits were so over the top that I thought it was pretty good. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it overall.
It's a banger. It's like that's hard. Is it? It's like up there, like top 5 Arnold movies for me. I just think it's a lot of fun.
I would agree. Don't get me wrong. A lot of it is also pretty bad, but it's bad in like a enjoyable way, like good bad. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. And then I was also left wondering, did American Gladiators exist before this movie, or did this movie kind of inspire American Gladiators? Because I
think American Gladiators was before. Because I feel like they were around like in the late 70s, like early 80s.
Well, it has a lot of those vibes. So yeah, it was a good watch. Really easy, entertaining watch. I haven't seen the Edgar Wright one yet. I meant to this weekend, but I got tied up with some other things. In addition to that, we watched Keeper, the new Osgood Perkins movie. Rowan and I recorded a Now Slang on it. But, I enjoyed it to a certain degree.
Sorry, I have your answer. Actually, The Running Man inspired American Gladiators.
Oh, shit, I was wrong.
There we go. When I was watching it, I was like, this is either a huge ripoff for American Gladiators, or like American Gladiators was just like, man, that was kind of a great premise in a really dumb movie. So I'm glad that that's the way it worked out.
That's when I should have got my serious face on and said, Jill, never correct me in front of the listeners, ever.
Yeah. That's never happened before, of course.
Yeah, that's karma for you.
But yeah, outside of The Running Man, like I said, I saw Keeper. You can listen to the full Now Slang on for our full thoughts on it, but I did enjoy it more than like the critical consensus would lead most people to believe. And then outside of that, the only other thing I saw was the new Lynn Ramsey movie, Die My Love, that stars Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson. And Rowan's already smiling on camera because Mike absolutely adored this movie and gave it a 4.5 and a heart on Letterboxd. And I thought it was probably one of the most dull and dreadful things I had to watch this year. That the 2 hours in the theater felt like an eternity. Like, I remember on our Keeper episode, Rowan was kind of saying the pacing of Keeper was a little slow, but I came straight out of Die My Love into Keeper. So by comparison, Keeper felt like a Marvel movie. It felt like action-packed, like completely riveting.
Wait,
because
is this the beef you guys have? Because I think me and Mike were talking about that today.
Yeah,
about Die My Love or the beef or
Yep.
How can you guys even talk about Die My Love though? You haven't seen it.
He said he complained about Die My Love being boring, and then he also sent this meme from Under the Skin.
Okay. So is he saying Under the Skin is more boring than Die My Love?
No, he likes Under the Skin.
Yeah, I was gonna say he likes Under the Skin as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, Die My Love.
He doesn't have beef.
Yeah, Die My Love is essentially just Jennifer Lawrence losing her mind for the year after having her child, like postpartum, which obviously is well worth showcasing and having like a movie about it, but it's told like so out of order in this like hyper saturated style with a lot of like really big performances over the top where it kind of reads false for me pretty much the entire time I'm watching it. And I absolutely love Robert Pattinson. Jennifer Lawrence, I mean, I loved her like 10 years ago, but she hasn't really been in much of substance as of late. So, I wanted this to be a big win for her. I like Lynn Ramsey movies. So yeah, it was just, I don't know, it was a complete miss for me. If you want to see a movie that kind of grapples with these feelings of motherhood where it's kind of like you feel like your existence is only in service to your child, I think the Rose Byrne movie this year, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, is much more successful in kind of exhibiting that sort of psychology and making a far more interesting movie out of it. This, I'm just sorry to say, like I was actually bored for so much of it, and I would say even like 5 to 6 people walked out of it within the first 40 minutes or so.
Damn, really?
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah, it's
also the Babadook.
Like I said, there's Babadook.
Similar movie.
The only movie that I remember like here in St. John's getting so many walkouts is when I went to see The Witch. Back in the day.
That is so upsetting.
Yeah, that had like a solid probably 15 walkouts, opening night at The Witch. But yeah, Die My Love is certainly no The Witch in my mind. But maybe Mike will talk about it next week on the podcast, and he will praise it up. But yeah, I mean, that's all I've been really watching. Rowan, have you had a chance to watch or consume anything since our last episode?
Yeah, so I said last episode that I was reading a book and I was almost done. I did finish that book. It was the Darwin Cook. What's it called? I think New Frontier. It's like all of your like DC characters, but it's like set in the 50s, like McCarthy, like searching out communists and stuff. And it was all right. I thought it was it was kind of mid. It was definitely for like middle to older, middle-aged white men for sure. I was just like, yeah. And I'm not, this is probably sacrilege, I'm not like a huge Darwin Cook fan of his art. I know he's like considered like one of the greats, you know, gone too soon, but I was just never a big fan of his artwork. So it's also like super long. It's like one of the longest graphic novels I've ever had to read. So for reading like something that I don't overly enjoy the art, and I'm like, oh, this is just triple the size of everything else I want to read, like fantastic. And then for movies, so I did a couple rewatches, always rewatching stuff at work with my buddy that's, you know, getting in it, got Letterboxd, he's being active on it and stuff. You know,
love to hear it.
Yeah, so we rewatched Color Out of Space. It was this basically just stuff that was on his list. Obviously, we did an episode on that, and my feelings are still kind of the same. I enjoy it pretty good. It's a fun, like, late-night movie. You know, it's got some faults, but it's also great Nick Cage performances. And, you know, I just love all the alpaca stuff in it, so.
Yeah.
And then rewatch Casino, which, let's be realistic, I feel like every year I talk about rewatching Casino at least like 4 or 5 times. It's like comfort movie for me, just throw it on while I'm doing other stuff. I basically know, like, line by line the entire movie. I'm one of those guys that, I say it every time, I like Casino better than I like Goodfellas. They're both good, but Casino just, I love Casino. And then one we watched was Snakes on a Plane, because none of us had seen it. And I don't want to say too much because I'm not going to lie. I've got it locked and loaded for at some point because I was like, there's no way my life is never going to end with it before I talk about Snakes on a Plane. Yeah. So
well, in that case, I guess I wanted to chime in, but I'll hold it until we eventually do that episode, I guess.
I mean, yeah, a fun episode for sure. Then I saw some new stuff, some old stuff that I'd never seen. Watched Ghost Dog, The Way of the Samurai with Forrest Whitaker. I don't really know how I never saw this. Like, all the music done by RZA. This would have hit me, like, right at the age that, like, I was watching terrible straight to video, like, gangster movies made by, like, Jay-Z's record company and, like, anybody that would have, you know, like, State Property, Shatas, like, all these just, like, straight to video classics for me. And I remember seeing ads for this in, like, XXL, The Source, like, all these hip-hop magazines I used to get as a kid. But I had never seen it, so I finally saw it, and I thought it was pretty good. I would like to see it again. I'm not gonna lie, when I watched it, I was, like, so tired. I was, like, just, like, doing everything I could to stay awake. I was fading, but I really wanted to see it. And, of course, that movie's, like, kind of, you know, it's, like, it's very, like, slow and methodical, and it's The Way of the Samurai, but
it's directed by Jim Jarmusch, who does a lot of kind of mumblecore indie movies. So
I think the only other movie I've seen of his is The Dead Don't Die.
Oh, Patterson by him is excellent, but
oh yeah, which I do hear. So yeah, I like seeing it, and the soundtrack's incredible, of course. RZA, just always a good time. I watched one from the COVID days, which is like, it's one of those things on Letterboxd, but is it really a movie? It's not. It's a limited series. I watched that, The Woman in the House Across the Street from the Girl in the Window. And this was...
Is that a parody movie?
It is a parody satire movie. With not a lot of parody or satire. Like, it plays itself very straight. But this was the one that had Kristen Bell in it. She was the star of it. It was a Netflix one that came out in 2022. And honestly, I watched this because I didn't know what to watch. And I went on my Letterboxd watch list and was like, what are the earliest things I logged? And at that time, I would have just been, oh, this is new. I'll try to watch this. And it was sitting there. So I was like, why not? It was only 8 episodes and they're only like 20 minutes long. And I thought it was okay. It's like it is super campy, but it's one of those like, you know, soap opera twists and turns where I'm like, oh, this is what's going to happen. And like something just totally ridiculous is the twists and the turns where it's like, this doesn't even make sense, but it's funny because it's just like such big twists and turns. So I had a fun time with it, but I don't know if I'd go out of my way to watch it if anyone's listening. Maybe if you're just bored. I did see The Perfect Neighbor, especially after Colton's rating review on it, and I really, really liked it. I thought it's definitely the best documentary Netflix has done in a long time. Mm-hmm. The body cam footage, like doing it in that aspect was very cool. I'm not gonna lie, I was very worried what was gonna happen to that woman in terms of frustration that I had to ruin it. Like I had to look it up before it was done because I didn't want to just be like, man, like I didn't want to feel down at the end of it. Oh, like I was like, something's gotta happen here. But yeah, it obviously is just like a heartbreaking story, and it hit. That's a great one for Netflix. It was nice to see something different because so much of the true crime stuff is always like the same. So
it's so formulaic now, right? Like it's almost like they can just get an AI to edit it at this point. And I don't know if it'd be distinguishable from much of the stuff they churn out.
And then I guess I can talk about it, right? Because I mean, we didn't do it for Now Slain, and after seeing it, there's definitely no way. I think unless it's like year 18 on the podcast, I went and saw Predator, Badlands, obviously, you know, Alien Predator boy here, and I didn't love this. I went with a couple buddies from work. They also didn't really love it. They're like huge, you know, original Predator heads, and, you know, the second one bangs too. It slaps. This one is just, you know, it's kind of just everything I was scared of. I was just like, this is what happens when Marvel and Disney are in charge of your products. I mean, you know, if you are someone that's listening that walks into a comic book shop, you know, we're dead in the middle of Alien versus Captain America, the mini comic book series, and Predator versus Wolverine. And, you know, this is where they want this stuff to go. So it just felt like a Marvel movie. The CGI doesn't look great. It's kind of, I'm like, yeah, this kind of makes sense. It's this like Disney product. You know, some of it, there is some cool scenes in it, and I do like the idea of doing something different with it, but it just wasn't for me. I didn't care. I don't want to hear a Predator talk. I don't want to know what they're saying. It just kind of loses the monster of them. You know, I don't need to know about this like runt of the litter, moody teenager Predator. And it sucks because what one is Elle Fanning that's in this one?
Yeah.
She's great in this. I thought she was fantastic. She's like the high point of it. And unfortunately, this is just like I said, it's like everything else. This is made so they can make tons more. That, you know, we've got Weyland-Yutani in it so they can bring in the aliens. I'm sure that you know, they're going to do Alien versus Predator, and then the aliens are going to come upon Thor's hammer or something, and, like, it's just going to be this...
Get out of here. They're not going that far with it.
Grand scale, but, you know, I had hopes with Prey. Like, I kind of like the direction Prey went, but Prey, like, still kept it as, like, this horror monster movie where I was like, this just totally, you know, it's a PG Predator movie that's just, like, fun, like, Star Wars alien violence, essentially. Just not for me. So I feel like kids will like it.
I can't wait to do my double feature next weekend of Wicked for Good and Predator Badlands. So
why would you do that to yourself,
huge
man?
Saturday.
Why would you do that to yourself? You saw the first Wicked. You know how the second one's going to go. So.
Oh, the first one was a banger. Come on, man. I'm defying gravity.
And then the last thing I saw was I got a chance to check out Good Fortune, which is in Aziz Ansari's directorial debut.
That's more offensive than Wicked.
Is it his directorial debut for a feature film, I believe?
I don't know. I stopped following that guy 10 years ago when he was canceled.
So I saw that. A great cast, like Keanu Reeves and Seth Rogen and Keke Palmer, who obviously I have my issues with Keke Palmer. Sandra Oh. I thought this was all right. I mean, what Colton brought up, I think it's kind of weird. I was like, this guy hasn't been able to really do anything because he was canceled, which, I get it, cancel people, but I think it's interesting because before he was canceled, he had created Masters of None, and like everyone was basically talking about like this guy's next up, like his writing's incredible, like his directing's incredible. I remember loving Masters of None. So I thought this was kind of interesting because I did think it was directed and written pretty good. I was like, he obviously does have a knack for this, but yeah, I can't really see it doing huge business or even getting looks anywhere just because of who he is and the problematic stuff that comes around him. Keanu's always charming, though. He's fantastic in this, just like a very naive angel that just wants to help guys. He wants to help and smoke cigarettes. That's all he wants to do. But yeah, that's literally all I watched. So with that, let's get into the episode. Colton, was your pick. Why don't you introduce it and let us know why you chose it?
Well, yeah, my pick is 2014's Under the Skin, and as to why I picked it, I'm not really quite sure what I said last episode. It's the sort of thing where I have a list with a bunch of different picks that I want to choose, and every now and then when I'm really strapped for something, I'll scroll through that, and for whatever reason, Under the Skin leapt out at me last week, and I kind of joked on the show that I'm the A24 fanboy. I'm wearing an A24 shirt right now, and with that said, I've never actually picked an A24 movie to discuss. So I thought if I was going to pick one, at least throw it back to kind of the earlier days of A24 before they were kind of like a household name or at least like a film bro name and just kind of see what one of their early offerings had to offer.
Well, with that, let's get to the trailer and we'll be back with the synopsis and first experiences.
I'm pretty.
I know, gorgeous.
I have a place about 30 minutes away. Come to me. You don't want to wake up, do you?
Under the Skin was directed by Jonathan Glazer and written by Jonathan Glazer and Walter Campbell, and the story is as follows. A seductive stranger prowls the streets of Glasgow, luring unwitting men to their end. But the longer she moves among them, the more humanity reveals itself to her in all of its complexity, its tenderness, and ultimately, its horror.
So, you know where we're going to start our first experiences. Is this our first time seeing it, or have we finally stopped pretending to be an A24 fanboy and actually watched an A24 film? Did you have anything to say, Colton, about your first experience? Or
well, yeah, I guess in my introduction, I didn't really
you did a good job. I'm so used to Jill usually like kind of spoiling her first experience.
What the fuck?
And all of us really.
Yeah, I watched this back in probably 2014. It was not in theaters, but it was the sort of thing where I remember me and my couple of roommates at the time, we threw this on, and I remember for basically the entire movie, the discussion around this movie at the time was, is Scarlett Johansson an alien? So we just watched it, not knowing it was going to kind of be this artsy, slow burn sort of movie. We were just watching like Scarlett Johansson seducing men and basically being like, oh, is she an alien? Is she not an alien? Is it something else? And, basically we watched the movie. We all thought it was weird and we moved on with our lives. And yeah,
I'm sure that's the conversation you guys had while watching this. I'm sure
it was a little bit more crass. I mean, we were young men. But in terms of the actual movie, in years past, in years since, it's kind of been reclaimed as this almost like this masterpiece, one of these hallmarks of sci-fi horror, sci-fi thriller, at least in like in the 2010s, and it's certainly in like A24's catalog. So it's been something that I've been meaning to rewatch now with like, not just throwing it on for something to watch on like a Friday night, but something to kind of sit down and actually like sink my teeth into and pay attention to. So I've been meaning to rewatch it, and this was kind of like the perfect time to do so. Jill, have you seen this before?
No, but I remember being interested in this when we had our May 24 month.
Oh yeah,
this was like in the running to be one of the picks that month. And I was kind of gunning for it because I was like, yeah, we haven't like done, much A24, and I didn't really know much about it. I expected possibly some like body horror, but I did not expect it to be like sci-fi basically, and like more sci-fi than horror really. And yeah, very much a slow burn. But this is my first time watching it. What about you, Rowan?
Yeah, so this is my first time seeing it. It's kind of been on my radar since it came out. I remember people seeing it and really enjoying it, and I was like, oh, I kind of got to check that out. I knew it was like a kind of sci-fi horror-ish type movie, and that tends to kind of, be my jam, is when you're brushing up against that line of sci-fi and horror. But I don't know why. I've never watched it, I guess. It's just one of those ones that is always like at the top of the list, and I'm always moving it down for something else, something I'm sure Colton would judge me on and is terrible and, shouldn't bump this down. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm curious, Rowan. After we recorded Keeper last night, you said you were going to watch this.
Yep.
And I don't think you did, but I'm curious, did you throw it on and try to watch it and basically be like, oh man, like this is way too slow, I'm going to fall asleep if I throw this on, or did you just get tied up with other things?
So this is what happens. Only Willow will relate to this. So when we finished recording last night, I had to put a basketball game on that I was gambling on in my fantasy league. And then, like the old dad I am, I fell asleep and woke up this morning and was like, oh boy, I got to watch 2 movies. And then watch these pretty much directly when I woke up. Yeah, I watched this in the morning. Of all things.
The perfect time to watch Under the Skin.
That's right.
Bright and early.
Question. Did you also watch Frankenstein in the same kind of setting? What 100%. The hell, dude? That's a lot to watch.
In fact, I watched Frankenstein first and then Under the Skin. It was my
sun shining in, glare on the TV.
I did have
absolutely.
I watched it in the bedroom, so I put the blackout curtains up and all that good stuff. So, and I still got the 4K TV in the bedroom. So it's not like, I'm not watching it on like a CRT TV or something.
You're not watching Jaws on the bus.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't judge me. You can't judge me that hard. So yeah, with that, why don't we step forward into the black goo and discuss Under the Skin? I'm assuming we all have, or maybe not Colton. I'm assuming the rest of us have the same first note, which says, we know exactly why Colton picked this. You're such a dirty freak, Colton.
Mm-hmm. Don't ever come at me for my books when yo nasty ass trying to see all of these naked women.
I think there's only a couple naked women in this, right? We've definitely
There's also naked men, I guess.
Yeah, there's way more naked dudes in this, just hanging dong for most of the movie. But I hear you. It's definitely some nudity right away. I don't know if we make it 5 minutes in, or we probably do, because Jonathan Glazer loves to start his movies with just like this score, almost like this oral landscape of just weird images and sounds. That's kind of what he always does. So it might be longer than 5 minutes, but definitely one of the few first images you see in this movie is a boob. So, that's almost as exciting as the movie gets, honestly.
Expect a slay coming from Colton at the end. Slay for boobies.
Yeah, no, but this movie, when I was watching it, it was the sort of thing where my memory of this movie had a lot more horror in it than I think like the actual movie did. It was the sort of thing about an hour into it, I Googled and I was like, was it really only like kind of one image of horror and just kind of like conceptually it being a little bit unnerving? Yeah. Or was there actually more to this? And then I started looking around. I was like, okay, it is listed as horror on some places, but not on others. So it was almost the sort of thing where I was going to like apologize on the show. Just like, it's not really like a horror pick, but I will say we don't have to get into it now. There is at least a couple of scenes that I think are pretty well done for horror. But what was so interesting about this as like an A24 movie nowadays is just how stripped back and how pared down like this movie was, where it was just essentially one actress that's notable wandering around for most of the movie with a bunch of people who aren't actors, you know. That I was like, oh, this is definitely like a much quainter movie than a modern A24, that's for sure.
You know what, though? That was kind of the highlight for me. I was like, oh, cool, it's Scarlett Johansson, but she doesn't really like have much to do as an actress. Like, she's just very monotone and like, you know, she doesn't really do much. But all the other like smaller actors, they are quaint and they have like their little accents, and you know, they're from like this like small town, and they definitely have like a lot of personality. And I think that's an interesting juxtaposition between, you know, she's like the alien and these are the people that she's kind of like talking to like, I don't know if she's trying to learn more about humans and humankind while she's like, you know, eating men or whatever the hell she's doing, because I still don't know what she's doing exactly.
Meat from them or something.
Do you know what's happening? Because I'm still confused.
I mean, in the movie, there's that one scene, which I guess we'll just get into the horror scene that I would kind of point to. Obviously, there's some horrifying stuff right at the very end of the movie, but kind of 40 minutes into the movie, there's like a jump scare where there's two men kind of submerged in this black goo, this void. And, you know, one man touches the other, and as he does, he kind of inflates or like coils in on himself, and all that's left is skin. And then you kind of get a hard cut to almost like a trough full of meat being like, I don't know, pushed into a red light. So I assume it's kind of like capturing men and ingesting them in some sort of way is like the alien race is doing, I assume.
Yeah, that makes sense. Also, that scene you just described with like the meat kind of flowing really reminded me of The Shining with the hallway of blood.
It reminded me of Sweeney Todd.
Lol.
Of course it would.
Eating men.
I think you guys are definitely on the right track. I'll start off by saying I felt with this pick, as this movie got going, that Colton was Scarlett Johansson like seducing me, because this movie's like hitting my pleasure zone. Like, so this is like the exact kind of science fiction horror I love. You know, all I could think, it took every ounce of me. I'll disappoint people now. Like, I really wanted immediately after this for my pick to be Beyond the Black Rainbow, because that's kind of what I like. It's just this like slow build. You don't really know what the fuck's going on, like sci-fi. So like very much this is in my zone. I really like my note was like, just off the top, the first 10 minutes, I knew it was going to be my vibe, where it was weird, it was sci-fi. I will say Jill's kind of onto the right thing. Obviously, you know, I tried to dig around, read a little bit. So this is based off a book, although very loosely, like he essentially took just like themes from it. Kind of sounded almost like an Annihilation situation, where it was like, took the vibes of the book. But I read that the book, which sets up a lot more like science fiction world building, is about aliens processing humans as meat in like a meat processing plant.
Okay.
So that's essentially what is going on. But to me, obviously the first thing being Roman Fraser that jumped out to me is like the score was like,
absolutely.
Like the minute the score came in, even Exilia, who wasn't watching, she was like on her phone doing something while I was watching, like put the phone down and was like, what's this music? Like, I really like this music. And I'm like, you'll have to watch this movie at some point. But
yeah, I absolutely love the score whenever she's kind of luring the men in, like when they're in like the black room. And it's like these piercing synths that's really, with like just a very simple drum beat that's very, I don't know, it is like hypnotizing. It does kind of put you in a bit of a trance, and just like the way like the men are obviously pursuing her. But it's just, I don't know, it's very unnerving. It's very, I don't know, it's like pitch perfect. I love all those scenes. It's kind of like a siren song. You know, the score is, right?
Mika Levi's is who did it. I think that's how you say his last name, Levi's.
Not familiar. Have they done a bunch of other
I didn't
things,
look, but I did see that he was like young. He was like 27 or something when he did this score. Like, so, you know,
Wow.
pretty young. But I saw a quote from him that said he wanted it to sound almost human, but not quite. That was like his goal of the score. And that what he did was he manipulated string instruments because he wanted to avoid traditional tuning systems. So he wanted it to have this like seduction and menace. And he just thought the score was supposed to the score to him was a musical representation of an alien imitating a human. And I think he did a really good job because obviously that kind of, like you said, main score when she's seducing and they're coming into the goo and everything, like it repeats over and over again throughout the movie. And yeah, it's just, you know, the score is incredible. Not that the licensed music isn't incredible. Darude, come on, people. Sandstorm.
Oh my God, what a banger when that comes on non-ironically in a club. I was like, yeah, this is of its time for sure.
Bringing us back.
But yeah, Micah, the score in this movie is excellent, and I just searched up what else they've done. And The Zone of Interest, they also scored it, which I'm a little bit more mixed on that movie as a whole, just in terms of what Glazer was doing there. I just found that one was a little bit too artsy, a little bit too pretentious. But the score in that movie as well is like incredibly harrowing. It's probably like the most effective part of the entire movie, I would say, in my opinion. So this composer is definitely very talented.
And kind of going with what you were just saying, Rowan, about the music creating this like kind of fear but arousal at the same time is also very much like Scarlett Johansson's character. Just watching her have these like simple interactions with men, it's kind of it's flipping the script a little bit, because usually it's men in this role kind of preying on women, but it's interesting to see that she has this power, and again that gets flipped on its head in the end when she kind of gets like raped, assaulted. Assaulted by that one guy, and I thought that was a really good way to kind of leave off of what was happening. But yeah, there's definitely this like charm that she has where she seems innocent, asking all of these like very mundane questions to these people when they're trying to like go somewhere, like they're trying to get a ride or they're trying to get out of here. But at the same time, you can tell that they're like entranced by her and they want to like kind of keep the conversation going at the same time. So I think that's very interesting.
Do you guys know that most of those interactions were filmed with hidden cameras with real people, of like Scarlett Johansson pulling up to them and propositioning them, essentially?
No. Wow.
Yeah, so it was.
I did see that he kind of mixed documentary like realism style into it, which, I mean, it works. To me, like, it creates a real tension. I think it's interesting because, as we're saying, like, this character kind of like flips the script of what you would think, right? You're like, oh shit, like she's, you know, one of these men are gonna be bad, one of these men are gonna like hurt her or freak out or whatever. And it's just very interesting that even when we see like, okay, like something's up because she's bringing these guys and killing them or whatever, but like I felt just the way I'm programmed through society, like even after seeing that, like anytime she's in the car with a guy, I'm like, oh shit, like this guy could be dangerous, like
yeah.
And yeah, I just think, yeah, just the film style was like so interesting, and it just brought, I'm like, this is why people love A24. Like, it's just like interesting filmmaking.
Yeah, it's just, once again, like the concept of being in this little town and Black Widow from the Avengers a couple years ago pulling up in a van in the middle of the night and asking you like for directions / where you going if you live alone, and essentially very strongly hinting at like, hey, let's go home together, is insane. Like it's like such a crazy concept that like no wonder none of these men believed it was happening. It is like something of like another world, like an alien interaction. So the fact that they were actually able to capture like these very naturalistic performances with just random people, and then of course after they have that initial interaction, they have to have the conversation of like, hey, we're actually filming a movie. This is where it's going to go. We need you to do full frontal nudity with Scarlett Johansson. Are you in or are you out? You know, and then
That's
the few people that are
crazy.
fine with it continue. But yeah, they kind of like reverse engineered like these interactions, which is incredibly interesting. And I think when you're watching the movie, it does help lend itself to this it's obviously like an inversion of like societal norms or gender roles where oftentimes, you know, men are pursuing women. I mean, you know, nowadays it has leveled out a little bit more in that regard, but it is very much like, once again, it's literally like a Hollywood attractive actress proposition you on the side of the road in like a fucking, you know, white panel van. You know, like it is a very strange situation that whenever I'm watching the movie, I always find it very interesting.
Colton's wondering why he wasn't offered any of these propositions.
Well, I mean, I never leave my house unless I'm working, so it's kind of hard for me to bump into Scarlett Johansson randomly on one you know, dreary evening. But I wanted to get into the beach scene, which a lot of people absolutely love this sequence in the movie. And I'm just curious what you've both thought of it as like a first-time viewers. What exactly was happening here? Did you guys find it unnerving or harrowing in any way, or what do you think of it?
Yeah, that baby especially, it was like the most harrowing thing for me. She just like they just leave the baby there and it's crying, and then they go back and it's like dark and the baby is still there and he has like snot all over his face. He's like crying. I'm like, what is happening? What's going to happen to this poor baby?
Yeah, the sequence, like even before the baby reveal of like seeing the dog swim out in the water and then seeing the woman go out after the dog and then seeing the man go after the woman and then seeing the swimmer go after the man and just like the very like cold matter of fact of like, yeah, all these people just drown. We're just filming it through like a really wide lens of almost like a National Geographic documentary where it's like, we're not going to get involved. We're just going to watch this happen. I think is very interesting. And especially like the fact that she kind of takes the last, you know, straw and walks up to the swimmer and hits him over the head with a rock very brutally. It's one of those sequences that when I'm watching it, it grabbed me today when I was watching it. And I thought it was, you know, very successful and kind of giving me real anxiety when I was watching the movie, just because I couldn't remember the specifics of what happened in the scene. And then, yeah, just this crying baby that kind of is in the background from one point onwards. It's just, yeah, it's like a very arresting scene.
And the score, too. Like the score
of course,
there and throughout the movie really does, like, I don't know, it gives me anxiety.
I thought the baby we were gonna see it die. Just because
well, we know it does die.
We do know, and it was very like I thought it was very effective. Maybe not as effective for a psychopath like me. The only reason is I didn't know what happened with the baby, but I know everyone's like the baby scene. Like that's kind of like the scene people talk about is like traumatic. So of course I'm like, oh shit, this alien's gonna like fucking get the meat from this baby or something. It's gonna be
baby
like
meat.
Something's gonna happen, or like she's just gonna kill the baby or something. And when that didn't happen, I was like, oh, okay, like, you know, the baby died, but you know, we didn't see him. We heard it on the news or whatever. Still sad.
Yeah,
sad
I think it's probably
baby.
the first time in the movie where we actually see that Scarlett Johansson is definitely like of a different world. Like clearly, like she doesn't have human morals or human values. Like she's a completely different species. That like this crying baby, I mean, that's of no interest to her. That means nothing to her. She just leaves it. Like she doesn't even know what that is, probably, right?
She can't even
so
have
it's
cake.
like exactly
That's the worst part.
Because well, yeah, I mean there's a part after that which, I mean, some people might say not being able to have sex is worse than not being able to have cake. But you know,
it's
the sort of thing where like she is an alien creature or vessel that its sole purpose is kind of to harvest men, right? She's presents in this very appealing, attractive kind of skin on top of herself. So like having any sorts of pleasures or having any real other motivation for living, you know, is secondary. It shouldn't even be considered, is kind of what the movie more or less seems to be saying.
I think all of it too is like so impactful. Like we were talking about the, you know, the documentary way of filming this and stuff. But like I also saw that beach scene, the waves, everything, like that was those waves were real. The weather was real. Like, he really wanted to go, like, not alter anything. He wanted this to be real, have a real feel. And, like, I think it's so interesting how effective it is when you just kind of, let that happen. Which, I mean, the effects too, I thought were really good. We briefly touched there on the void or whatever you want to call, like, the black. I thought that was all practical. Basically, it was just like really shiny black marble, and they used like lighting techniques and stuff to make it look like.
And also a hidden pool.
Yeah, well, of course, you got to have a hidden pool.
Of course.
That's cool.
Of course, immediately I thought, I was like, this seems like, is there some influence taken from this or something? Like, what came first? I was like, it's very Sunken Place when they're in the pool.
This came first.
Yeah.
But I agree. When they were underneath, I was like, wait, is this the Sunken Place? That was my thought as well.
I would be, and I mean, there's no way Jordan Peele didn't see this.
100%.
This would be up his alley. But yeah, I was like, oh, is this like proto Sunken Place?
Different things happen there.
But yeah, I think visually this Sunken Place is pretty effective.
Yeah.
It's just, like, don't get me wrong, of course a lot of the imagery in Get Out and what Jordan Peele is doing is incredibly effective and, masterful in a lot of ways. But just, like, I guess the moment of the men underneath being suspended and kind of, like, looking up and seeing her walking on top of them, I thought was such an effective image. And then to be met with both of them kind of in stasis, kind of, in this state of, like, you don't really know if they're living or they're dead or what is happening here, just kind of, like, waiting to be consumed, I thought was incredibly, it's, like I said, it's the one moment in the movie, like, for me, I thought was, like, a straight up horror moment, because there's even, like, a jump scare beat when he, like, touches the other guy and he, collapses in on himself. But, it's the sort of thing when you see this movie, this at the very least, Scarlett Johansson luring men into this black void that is, like, so black it doesn't even look black when you're watching it. It's an indelible image that you'll be left with, like, when you leave, for sure.
Yeah, well, and I think even, like, just the guys going into kind of, the goo or the void or whatever, like, I think it's just a great bit of work with, like, minimalist horror, like,
yeah,
because even with it, all that stuff's great when we see the guy implode and all that stuff, but I'm like, it's kind of also terrifying for a chunk of it where it's like, we don't even know what is going on. Like, these guys are just walking down, they kind of sink in, and then we're off to the next guy, and it's like, oh, like, and then the whole time I'm like, what happened to that guy? What's going on? Like,
dude, she is actually a Black Widow for real, and this is like,
yeah.
Well, like, no joke, when I was watching the movie the first time, and once again, all of the talk was about, is she an alien? Is this a metaphor for something? What is this movie? I was literally like, oh, is this just, like, symbolic of, like, late night hookups or something? That they're just kind of going home together, and then what happens, or maybe she does kill them or something, but, like, it wasn't immediately apparent in those, the viewing some 10 years ago if she was an alien or not,
The only thing the void, like, was really missing was some speakers and Sandstorm playing, really.
I completely agree. Just imagine if Darude was playing over those scenes, how much it would hit.
Just slap. And then obviously it's kind of funny because I know when we announced we were doing this, I know Willow reached out and was like super excited we were doing this. And I purposefully didn't look at, like, anything Willow's ever said about this or anything. But I mean, I was going to say, well, obviously watching it, I like immediately was like, okay, yeah, like I can see why this is like in the canon of, like, like trans film.
Dude,
canon.
Willow has logged this like 50 times.
Of course.
No joke. Like,
just a scholar.
She's gonna love where I was like, the high mark of the movie was a boob. She's,
more beef.
If she didn't hate me before, she certainly does now.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's offensive if you don't think that. Maybe. But yeah, I just thought it was, like, very interesting because I don't, like many things, like, I don't really know if that is what Jonathan Glazer's, like, was going for necessarily, but when I was watching it, I kept thinking, I was like, oh man, like, you could see how heavy those could be intertwined in there of, like, this alien, like, feeling alien in the body they're in and, like, trying to learn how to be a woman and all this kind of
Absolutely.
stuff.
Like literally like skinwalking and how that must
Yeah.
feel like to be something other. And you could kind of incorporate that into a bunch of metaphors about otherness, but totally that's there.
Yeah. And then like another note I had was, you know, obviously Adam Pearson in this, who is from also in A Different Man from last year or the year before there. I think this was his first thing, maybe.
Yeah, so I searched it up, and apparently, yeah, he was found for this movie. They Jonathan Glazer wanted somebody who naturally would have some like facial deformities, and he didn't want to use prosthetics. He wanted to find somebody, and yeah, he reached out to I think like a charity is the wrong word, but essentially a group that kind of helps these sorts of people, like, you know, come to understanding with their disfigurement, and they kind of gave him some names and some people, and Adam Pearson was the one that worked out best. And I think when I was watching this back in the day, I think I did think it was a prosthetic or some sort of, you know,
I did.
trick of makeup or, you know, whatnot. It's only more in recent years that obviously Adam Pearson's become a little bit more of a personality or someone who like pops up, you know, for bit roles in different movies. And then, of course, A Different Man with Sebastian Stan there a year or two ago, I mean, he was basically a co-lead in that sort of movie. So, but yeah, he's great in this.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He has neurofibromatosis. I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
You nailed it.
Nailed
it. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he's really good in this and like also like very important in this just because obviously that's where we see like she is obviously different than, you know, she's just consuming men as meat, and then it's like, oh, but she's obviously having these thoughts of like sympathy and like, you know, not wanting that to happen to him and letting him go. I will say, like, I don't know if you guys, like, I know when I watched it, I wasn't even sure at first if the motorcycle guy was like an alien or if he was, I was like, maybe it's just like a human that cleans up after the alien. Like, I didn't really know what was going on there. Maybe he just drives.
Such a weird plot thread. I want to get back to Adam Pearson, but the motorcycle guy, that was something when I was watching it this time, I did not remember him at all from the first viewing of this movie. That just kind of, like you said, more so cleans up if things don't go the way that I guess the aliens or this species wants them to, and just kind of fades off in the third act of the movie. There's like this big moment where the group of motorcycle men go to pursue her, and then nothing really comes of it. You know, that I thought, it was a weird plot thread that I didn't really remember from earlier viewings. But yeah, Adam Pearson, I really enjoyed him in this movie. I like that there's all these little moments with his character where essentially he just can't believe he's getting any sort of attention from a woman that looks like Scarlett Johansson, or a woman, period, that where, you know, you could tell he's like craving just the human touch, just some level of intimacy. Of course, you know, eventually of a sexual nature through like their conversations with one another. But I like the little moment where he pinches his hand when she's like, oh, do you want to drive somewhere, go back to my place, and he like pinches his hand. It's like, oh, is he dreaming? I thought that was like a cute little moment. And then obviously I don't know exactly the specifics of what kind of changes inside of her that makes her consider, you know, saving Adam Pearson, whether he's not as like gross as these other men that she's picking up, you know, internally, or if it's just, it was kind of the timing where she happened to see something in herself when she looked into the mirror. Was it the fly trapped inside the pane of glass? Well, you know, was it like all these kind of forms of helplessness kind of just coming together? But I really like that moment. I was shocked that Adam Pearson survived and he was just, you know, put off in a field to wander around naked until the motorcycle guy catches up with him, of course. But it was a nice little moment there for a minute or two.
Okay, here's like kind of my issue with the movie. You just brought up like, you know, things being very vague. It's a very long movie. I was personally like really bored and also didn't know what was going on most of the time. Like, I thought it was a cool concept, but I was like, man, did we really have to take this long to get here? And I still didn't really know what happened. But yeah, it was just like very vague, and very like there's a big lack of narrative as well. I don't know if that was an issue for you guys, but for me, I was just like kind of bored and let down by it.
I will say the second half of the movie for me felt a little bit slower, and maybe it's just the sort of thing where once again you're kind of getting used to the vibe and you know what we're getting more so by the first hour of the movie, and then the last hour of the movie where it's essentially what it means to become human. You know, we of course have seen that sort of narrative play out dozens if not hundreds of times throughout media, so it wasn't really something that felt incredibly novel. I did like the way that it was done in this movie, just because once again, just with like ScarJo's performance, or you know how cold and like emotionless she is like a lot of the time, unless she's purely like doing her task of like seducing a guy on the side of the road. So I did enjoy watching a lot of that, but I will agree that it definitely felt a little long in the tooth for sure. And also the whole plot thread of essentially like going in with the nice Scottish man who it's like, oh, we're gonna play house for a bit and he's gonna carry me over this puddle of water and he's gonna help me go down the stairs and be there for me, and then he's gonna be really nice when we try and have sex, but there's like no penetration because I don't have that. He's going to be very nice about this as well. It was this sort of thing when I was watching it. I was like, oh, okay, this was like it almost felt like a 10-minute diversion, which of course, very thematically and kind of understanding more about ScarJo's character or her species, it's very important. It was just, you know, it was the sort of thing where there was just beats throughout the latter half of the movie that felt a little bit different than the first half, and I just preferred the more menacing, unnerving tone, I think, of the first half a little bit more than what we got in the second.
Another question I have, and this is probably more so about your first watch than anything, like, did you know that she was an alien, or was it kind of a plot twist for you at the end?
No, it was a twist for me the first time I watched it. Now, I think, like, in hindsight, I think most people, if you've seen, let's say, a few A24 movies and would go in and watch this, you'd automatically assume she's an alien, like when you were watching this. Mm-hmm. But for me, the first time, once again, very new to even A24 as a concept. I don't even know if I've seen an A24 movie when I watched this, right? Like, this was so early on in, like, the distribution and like the production of their sorts of movies that I didn't know what I was getting into. This was like a weird artsy film that, like, truly when I was watching it, we were probably watching it because ScarJo was hot and we heard it was weird. Like, truly, like, that was probably the reason we were watching it at the time, because it was just a group of guys watching it, right? So we were probably talking over it in terms of like, oh, is she an alien or is she not an alien? You know, this is weird. What does this mean? Like, definitely just, you know, not giving the film its due in terms of like how most people kind of treat this movie, for sure. But
I get it.
I remember for sure when she was like peeling her skin off at the end, it was like a big like what the fuck sort of moment. 100%.
It was for me too. I didn't like really catch that she was an alien. Like, I knew something was off, but I was like, what is actually going on? Yeah, I didn't know she was actually like an alien species.
Literally, yeah.
Yep.
So in that case, what did you think? Was it similar to like when I was watching it the first time, where I didn't really know what to make of the void, where I was trying to think of like symbolic reasonings for it? Or what did you think of it when you were watching it? Because obviously when I was watching it, it was like, oh, this is an alien trapping its prey, you know, of course, in this weird viscous fluid. So what did you think of those sequences when you were watching it? Like, what was your rationale to explain what was going on there?
Crap. What was the movie? There was a movie I watched not too long ago. Titan. Heavy vibes of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I thought, okay, there's just something off with her. Like, actually, maybe it's trauma. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe she likes to have sex with cars.
Maybe it's
she's
that.
Gonna fuck her panel van by the end, you know.
I just got weird vibes from it. I just didn't know like what exactly it was. I certainly didn't expect it to be an alien. Sorry, what was the exact question you asked?
Well, yeah, it was kind of just like, I'm curious as to what was going through your head when you were watching those sequences. Just because when I was rewatching it, it was so obvious that this was like some sort of alien-esque thing that was happening. Like, once again, the specificity of like the harvesting of meat and whatnot, it's kind of like I had to talk it through, where like in my notes I was like, I think this is what's happening. But I was just curious, like, as someone who didn't know she was an alien, I guess, and then was as surprised as I was, you know, 10 years ago when I watched this, what did you think in those sequences? Yeah,
I don't know. I just kind of looked at it probably with more of like a feminist lens, like, oh, she's a man-eater. I didn't really think too deep into, okay, like, what is the void?
Yeah.
What is the motorcycle guy doing? It does have that otherworldly kind of thing going on, but my mind wasn't going, oh, alien. You know, and I wasn't quite sure what under the skin meant. So when her skin gets torn at the end and like her bodysuit comes off, which looked really awesome, by the way. And like when her head comes off and everything, it just reminded me of Annihilation, like Rowan said. But yeah, that was when I was like, oh, okay, this is actually what is happening with this alien.
Yeah, there is a moment earlier in the movie too where you see lights go away from a tower very early on in the movie. And then there's also a sequence where she's bringing one of the men home, and there is like this very tall, black, kind of androgynous alien in the room as well with them that like it shows the shot of a couple of times. That I remember when I was watching it the first time, I was like, what the fuck is this stuff? Like, this is just a weird movie.
Maybe cyborgs. Like, I think that's probably what I was thinking more than anything.
Okay.
Like some sort of like when she's like looking at her private parts, like after, you know, when she's like on the bed, I was like, oh, it's probably just like machinery up in there or something.
Like Ex Machina, but a year before it. Yeah.
She's waiting for Arnold to bust through the door.
There you go. Basically, same thing.
So, I mean, do we want to, talk about the ending, which is, you know, also, I think, kind of harrowing. I saw, interesting enough, they, like, really toned the ending down compared to what they originally shot and what's in the book, apparently. Apparently, it's a lot more violent. It's a lot more explicit. I'm going to assume that, like, it's probably a little even more sexually charged and violent. In this. But yeah, I mean, I think Jill pointed out, first of all, that when, you know, her skin kind of gets ripped off, I enjoyed the effects of it. I thought it was kind of cool, although I was like, I don't know, that skin be pretty baggy on that little skinny alien body. It's looking kind of hollow in between there, but like when she takes off the face and is looking at the face is fantastic. But yeah, obviously, like I said kind of at the beginning when we started talking about this, right, like every interaction she has with a guy, I just keep assuming like, oh, this is gonna be terrible. And you know, I'm not saying I'm smart, but I just knew, man. I knew when she ran into that guy in the woods, I was like, this guy's up to no good. There's something up with this guy. And obviously there is. And yeah, I thought this ending was like harrowing and horrific but like just such a great kind of ending. Cause it's like, you know, even though she's killed all these people, like you still have this sympathy and you're like, oh yeah, like some of these men she's killed are probably also giant pieces of shit. So
it's essentially what probably everybody, when they started this movie and saw Scarlett Johansson going around alone at night and going home with men, was expecting to happen at some point in this movie, sadly. And yeah, I agree. I didn't remember the specifics of what happened here. It was the sort of thing I knew at the end of the movie. She stripped off her skin, but I didn't remember if she just got injured or the specificity of what happened there. And yeah, when I was watching it this time, this was like a very harrowing scene, especially because it comes right after a scene where it seems like she's finally kind of at peace. She has her own little spot. She curls up in the corner. She's resting. Her like breathing is like going with the trees. She's kind of like one with nature. And then to have this all completely stopped by just like a man groping her and instantly her body's into like fight or flight was
Isn't that just true?
Yeah, well,
you're trying
exactly,
to have a peaceful moment and a man comes along and ruins it.
Truth. But yeah, it was a sequence that I just thought was very harrowing.
And I thought there was like so many meanings in this because I thought it was also very interesting because we get like that kind of, you know,
crossfade. The
crossfade with the trees and stuff and one with nature. But like not only is this guy like, you know, disturbing and essentially destroys her, but he's also a logger who's also like destroying the forest and I was curious. I was like, oh, there might be some more meaning here, maybe a little environmentalism going on there, which just even more so makes Annihilation like that perfect double feature with this. Maybe watch that in this instead of Frankenstein in this. That might actually be the move.
I think you're onto something there. Yeah, it's a very harrowing ending. For me too, when the man comes and assaults her and she's looking up at the sky and just like disassociating while he does this. It makes her very human, I think, in that scene.
Yeah.
So that's why you empathize with her even after everything she's done. And that's why it's so sad when, you know, she meets her demise, and such an ugly, like painful, horrific demise also.
Oh yeah. And shot beautifully, I'm going to say, just like with the fire effects going through the forest and just lighting everything up. It's yeah, it's quite an explosive ending there for sure. The one image we didn't touch on that a lot of this movie, a lot of people will probably say is just boring. You know, it's Scarlett Johansson driving around in the car. It kind of has this night prowler sort of like drive effect, like, you know, that Nicholas Winding Refn movie of just Ryan Gosling cruising around, just looking, you know, that I really enjoy. But there's this one sequence, and I think it's after she's already killed a couple of men. She's just kind of examining all the faces of all the different people she's running into. And it's just like this series of kind of scenes that keep stacking on top of one another, and they're just kind of like tinged in amber. And then eventually it makes Scarlett Johansson's face. And it's just kind of like all these different aspects of humanity all coming together to kind of like make a whole, or like, you know, very much becoming like part of her, or like, you know, leaving a lasting impact on her. That I just thought that specific image in the movie, which is probably somewhere around the midpoint, I thought was a very good moment in there. That was like, she is now seeing people as more than just prey. You know, she's kind of noticing the humanity, or like at least taking interest in the physical complexity of them, or like what makes them tick. That I really like that little, you know, visual moment, which is just kind of like a really good segment of editing, like putting everything together. I thought was pretty neat.
That is a really fantastic shot. Yeah, so I do want to say, before we land the plane, I want, as you guys contemplate, you know, what you're going to rate it, remember that when at the end, when she catches on fire and the movie's wrapping up, they didn't end it with Darude Sandstorm. So
that's true.
You've really got to take that into your ratings. So let's land the plane and get into rating this. If you're new to the podcast, our rating system is nay, okay, yay, or slay. Now, Mike did not make it here. He claims he's going to send us a voicemail. So this is where we'll play the voicemail. Everyone's shaking their heads. We have no faith the voicemail is going to come. So maybe there won't be one here, and I'll keep this in so you know that we were correct, that one didn't get sent in.
I also want to say that he shouldn't be able to leave a voicemail unless he rewatches the movie and chimes in with some new takes on it or some new thoughts on it, because there's been loads of movies that you guys have handled or covered when I haven't been there, but I didn't feel right calling in and being like, you know what, I saw that 15 years ago, I'm going to give it an okay, you know? Mm-hmm. So he should have at least rewatched the movie.
Okay,
so
I like this call out. I like the beef to continue. We support beef.
Putting the poor guy on blast. He's not even
right.
going to defend
so
himself.
We'll see. Yeah. We'll see what he rates it. Well, I know what he rates it, but right here's the voicemail if he sends it in.
Wow, a nay?
I can't believe it. He hates films that have these topics. He hates feminism now. Things have really changed.
I was talking to him earlier, though, and I think we agreed that bad wig club, because he said basically it's Scarlett Johansson running around for 2 hours with a wig. So I was like, added to the bad wig list, and he said yes.
So
damning stuff.
I knew ahead of time he gave it a slay, so obviously he loves this film. So let's follow him up with you, Colton, since it was your pick.
Yeah, this was my pick, but it's not like one of those picks, as I said. It's not because it's like a classic for me or like I absolutely love this movie. It was just I very much felt the need to watch it with a fresh set of eyes and kind of give it the respect it deserves in hindsight of like everybody kind of, you know, heralding it as, you know, an excellent film. And I do think it is pretty good. I definitely enjoy the movie. Like I said, it does have a very specific vibe. I think the score is great. I think the way it was filmed in terms of this very naturalistic performances of Scarlett Johansson just propositioning random men is an insane way to make large portions of this movie, but I think it really does work. I like a lot of the stuff with like Adam Pearson at that section in the movie. Obviously, this void or this trap or whatever you want to call it, how she like lures the men in to like this scenario and kind of like into their siren song, I thought was very effective. But overall, it is just a little slow, and the latter half of the movie isn't quite as effective as like the first probably 40 minutes. And I will say the motorcycle man just never did much for me, and I don't even really feel like we really needed him in the movie at all. So with all that in mind, I think I'm going to land on a yay for Under the Skin. I think it's a good movie. It's not one of my favorite A24 movies or like this absolutely excellent movie, but it's a movie that definitely has some great moments, and I think has some images that, you know, stand the test of time, or at least, you know, are well worth discussion, you know, all these years later. Rowan, what do you think of this movie? Let's let Jill have the last say.
Yeah, so this was very surprising. I hadn't seen it yet, and I kind of said at the beginning, I was very impressed with this pick from Mr. Colton. I was like, he just knows me. He knows what I like, and this is like so much of what I like. This is the kind of sci-fi I like. This is the kind of horror I like. Like the slowness of it doesn't really bug me. Some of the very obscure and not in your face, like what's going on, I love that. I love a movie that afterwards I really got to think about what I just saw, what stuff means. And like, to say all that, I'm actually also coming in with a sleigh. I really like this.
Oh my God. Wow.
Damn.
Okay.
This is so my vibe. Like I said, the music is so fantastic. Darude is fantastic. I really, really vibed with this. And I haven't stopped thinking about it since I watched it in the morning, the time you're supposed to watch it. And I can't wait to sit down with Exilia and watch it. Like, this is one now that I'm going to be, people that haven't seen it, I'm going to be like, hey, we got to watch this. This is amazing. Jill, what about you?
Damn, doing this to me, huh? Okay. So like I said earlier, I liked the concept. I liked how parts of it looked, going back to the void, going back to the skin suit coming off, the black alien underneath looked really good. Her head just like decapitated and she's holding it and still very much animated, very cool. To me, I think this would work better as a short, like 20 minutes. 30 minutes maybe, because I felt like it was getting repetitive. I know that's probably the point of her bringing, you know, multiple men and making them into meat, but I just got kind of bored. I felt like we really didn't need that much time to get there. And also there were some narrative threads that didn't really go anywhere, like the motorcycle man and things like that. I do think it's really cool that, Colton, you mentioned they did some of this candidly. And I think that's some of my favorite parts of the movie. And so all of that together, I'm going to give it an okay. I probably wouldn't watch it again. It was just way too long for me and I got bored, and I thought we could have gotten there in a much shorter amount of time.
So, 2 slays, a yay, and an okay. All over the place on this one.
If we're factoring in Mike's
yeah
rating, if he's actually seen it recently. But yeah, I mean,
That's
we're all
right.
across the board, all over the board.
Yeah, that's all right, though. So we told you what we thought about Under the Skin, and I asked you what you thought about, and we did get some answers for this one. So we'll start with the obvious. Willow wrote in, and Willow, this is a big one. And by big, I mean big statement. Willow says, the best English language horror film of the 21st century so far. And then wrote in again and said, also it's trans. So we did talk about that. And then another friend of the podcast, Trevor, wrote in, and Horror Hound, and said, great movie, bit of a bummer. Yeah,
a bit of an understatement.
Yeah, that's right. And we'll go over to Facebook, and GY Lee wrote in and said, yay, that chilling beach scene with the baby. Which, yeah, we were saying that, you know, I know I heard at least everyone talks about that is just horrific. And
it's just so bleak, so brutal.
A bummer, as Trevor would say. And then Heather wrote in and said, yay, that she would give it a yay. So that sounds, you're on board with Colton. You understand what's going on. And then over on Slasher, we had Horror Twizzler write in, and they simply just said slay. So big fan. And last but not least, we had Azaziel Transcendent write in, and they said, it reminds me of the weird, ethereal British sci-fi of the 60s. Definitely worth a watch, if only to ogle a very, very fully nude Scarlett Johansson. So double D yay for this one.
I love that Azazel's thoughts are like my thoughts when I was 20 watching this movie, very mature,
never agreed
fully
with
formed
someone.
thoughts.
Yes, loved it.
Yeah.
So with that, we had Horrorhound Nicholas call into the horrific hotline. So let's head out over there and see what he had to say.
So Under the Skin is the second movie by Jonathan Glazer. I hope I pronounced the name correctly. Sorry if not. That I saw after seeing The Zone of Interest 2 years ago or last year. Wow, it's been a time. And I have to say it is in the same style as The Zone of Interest, as in it is filmed very uneventful, very slow, very statically. And that worked perfectly for me in The Zone of Interest, which I also found, according to the subject matter, way more disturbing than Under the Skin. Under the Skin was, dare I say it, boring. I found it pretty boring, to be honest. I think there were some aesthetically really beautiful shots of the Scottish landscapes, and I love Scotland, and there were some cool shots in this black room, but overall it was dragging on, at least for me. I know that there are a lot of people who really like the movie, but I just couldn't get into the movie. The movie probably wants to say something about isolation, loneliness, but I just felt isolated by the movie. I sat in front of my TV for 100 minutes and I was yawning after half an hour. I don't know why. I think it's mostly the pacing and the absence of any real plot, any real storyline to follow that might give you a bit, and the few clues for clues for a storyline that are given are too scattered around and a bit too cryptic for me to really get into, because I found the movie boring. I think if I would have been into the aesthetic of the movie and the drive of the movie, I would have loved to go into the story, start interpreting things, but this way, just hard to watch. I would feel bad giving it an A because it's not trash. It's not a really bad movie. It's just for me personally, boring movie. So I'm at an okay overall. But for personal enjoyment, it would be an A. But yeah, maybe your guys' discussion sheds some light onto the movie. Maybe it leads me to watch at least a few scenes again. Let's see about that.
I'm with Nicholas. Like, I didn't really enjoy it either. I actually texted Mike earlier and I was like, I can't believe I have to watch this. This is before it was even over. It was like when I was watching it. So that's why I was like messaging Mike, and he was like, I love it. I was like, oh, never mind.
You're like, wow, I'm getting no support here. But it's nice to hear that Nicholas gave you support at least.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if our discussion was particularly illuminating. I doubt it's going to increase your grade much. But I think it's interesting that you really enjoyed The Zone of Interest, but found this movie very boring. Because obviously the subject matter of Zone of Interest is far more horrific than this movie. But I find that movie, quite literally by its construction, is very, very sterile and cold and boring. And I think that's actually part of it, just the mundanity, how like mundane evil is. So it's like that movie's almost trying to be boring for so much of it. This one, at least there is a bit of moving camera. There is some like interesting like horror concepts but maybe it's just the order you watch them or whatnot. But this, thanks for chiming in, Nicholas. I mean, you're not alone. Jill's with you. So
Yep.
And if you want to be like Nicholas and leave us a voicemail, you can do so at sending it to us at itslaispodcast@gmails.com or sending it to us on any of our socials at itslaispodcast. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Slasher, Letterboxd, Threads, Bluesky, TikTok. If there's a social media, we're probably there at itslaispodcast. And if you want to help support the show financially, like our horror hounds Holly, Nicholas, Mark, Steven, Dan, Brian, Trevor, and James, gain access to the Patreon-exclusive show Stream Screams, hosted by Jill, and get episodes of the main show 48 hours early. Be sure to head on over to patreon.com/itslaispodcast and choose whatever tier works best for you. Jill, Rowan, I have a bone to pick with you guys.
Oh, no.
There's been no Stream Screams for months now, as
back.
far as I know.
It's coming back.
What has happened? I'm just lying at the end of every episode when I'm here for, once every 6 months about Stream Screams. Where is it?
Listen, man, we're busy and it's hard to link up. And then he's throwing all these fucking now slangs at me, and then we just don't get time.
Always bring it back, blame us. It's coming back.
God.
We're locking and loading. We're going to have a little special guest on a bunch of the new ones coming up that we'll announce in a bit. When they're coming out, we'll let you know who it is. But it's coming back. We're going to keep pounding the Master of Horrors out. We won't be pounding them in the pumpkin patch or whatever that was, but...
Fair enough. Well, with that out of the way, Rowan, is Darude Sandstorm making the playlist?
I'm going to make sure it's starred at the top of the playlist.
Good.
And that way people can just click on it and put that on repeat and jam to it. But I mean, the score, definitely. If the score's up, we will put stuff on there because it's a fantastic, eerie, spooky score. If you want to see if I upload it, you can go to the It Slays Podcast Horrific playlist on Spotify. If you have any problems finding it, you can go to any of the social media that Colton just mentioned. Go in the bio, click the Linktree link. There's a button that'll take you directly there. We upload scores or licensed music from iconic horror movies we review, or just horror movies we love. So get your spooky music on, because why the hell not? And I do got to do one more promo thing. There'll only be 3 days left, I think, after this comes out. But if you haven't got your tickets yet, Wednesday, November 26th, at Sackville Cineplex in Nova Scotia. TerrorVision's doing their newest showing, and this time it is of the original Pet Sematary. So grab your tickets. Obviously, we're going to be there. Doors open at 6:30. The pre-show and the film's at 7:30. As always, I'll be there with giveaways. We've got some movies, Stephen King stuff, Pet Sematary stuff, probably a couple shirts in hand. So show up, win some stuff, have a good time. It's always a great time. Now, all that is left is to announce the upcoming episode, and it's my pick. And I labored over this pick. And it's December. I wanted to please Colton. I feel like we always give Colton a hard time. So I was like, I got to pick a winter horror because we're getting in the winter. It's not a Christmas pick yet, but it is the first pick of December. And then I was like, when are all four of us having a real good time together? And it's usually when we go back to the 2000s, the 2010s. It's always a riot. So I looked up on Letterboxd. It seems that none of us have ever seen this movie. It is from 2010, directed by Adam Green, and it is Frozen, about 3 people that get stuck on a ski lift, and we got to find out what happens.
Is there any sing-alongs, musicals? Do they build a snowman, anything like that in the movie? Or
we'll find out. Maybe. I won't lie. I watched the trailer, and I think we're in for a good time. At least a couple laughs for sure. So get your eyeballs on Frozen, and we will be back in 2 weeks with that. As always, thank you for all the support. I'm your humble host, Rowan.
Oh, God, I was waiting for Mike. I'm Colton.
Bye, it's Jill.
See you later.